Hello and good evening from Riga. It's nice to see that there are quite a few of you. My name is Irina. I'm the marketing manager at FIXAR. And tonight, this evening, we are going to talk about what's new in ground control software. The speaker is going to be my colleague Karina. Yes, I'm going to go on mute now. And Karina, the floor is yours, and enjoy the webinar.
Hi guys, it's really nice to see you all this evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And it's good to see some familiar faces and some not familiar faces. Well, more names than faces, but anyway. So yeah, we're here today for some news from FIXAR. As you can already see and probably know that we have some xGroundControl software updates and news, some improvements. And yeah, as my colleague mentioned before, my name is Karina and I'm the Senior Demo Engineer here at FIXAR. So briefly about myself, I come from a drone racing background and I've done some space modeling as well. And what I do now is I teach people or clients and dealers about our ground control software and how to use it and how to use our drone. So yeah, let's move on. So a little bit information about FIXAR itself as a company. Interesting fact, actually, the name FIXAR stands for fixed angled rotors, as you will see in the pictures if you haven't seen the pictures of our drone before. And yeah, we are in the market since 2018, and we have quite a few, 45 distributors to be exact in total, all around the world. So they are in Canada, they're in the USA, South Africa, Japan, and so on. So it's really interesting for us. So actually, we also have been recognized and awarded just now from the Edison Awards. We got last week. So we got the bronze medal there. And yeah, we also have strong IP portfolio for FIXAR 007 and the upcoming model of FIXAR 025. And to be honest, I'm really proud that we have been BVLOS certified in Canada. And we're also recognized by Transport Canada and everything. So oops. Yes, so to tell you more about FIXAR 007 itself and about the software, yeah, we have our FIXAR xGroundControl software. It's all built in-house, and yeah, everything from the scratch comes from our company. And yeah, it's really easy to use and intuitive to use. You can use it both on Windows and macOS platforms. So if you're a strong MacBook user, then of course you can definitely use the software as well. And all of the FIXAR autopiloting system is also built in-house. And yeah, we can do both VLOS and BVLOS flights, of course, depending on the country where you are and if your regulations allow you to. But yeah, we are capable of doing this. And yeah, we do provide the software for the flights and the drone itself, but for yeah, data and image processing, we do use different kinds of other platforms, for example, Pix4D or Metashape or QAA. Yeah, we also have quite a few onboard payloads that we can put on our drone. So they can be starting from GNSS receivers. They can also be LiDAR scanners or RGB photo cameras. I would have to say that my favorite is the RGB camera because it's super simple to use and you can get so many cool pictures out of the drone and you can make maps afterwards. But yeah, that's just my favorite, but it depends on what you want to do with the drone. Yeah, you can also use video cameras with video gimbals and real-time video streams. So that's an interesting part. Yeah, you can use FIXAR for aerial photography, delivery missions, agriculture and forestry, laser scanning, real-time monitoring, and as a counter UAV solution. Of course, we're not getting too much into this today because we are here to see the news of FIXAR ground control software. Yeah, and let's start with it. So there are quite a few different types of missions we can put in our ground control software. So they can start with just surveying missions, yeah, for mapping or whatever you want to do. So what it does, you can create any kind of a polygon. You can see here in the picture that, yeah, you can put any shape of a field inside the ground control software. So that can be rectangular, triangular, or whatever other you want, but you have to put at least 3 points that can be connected. And that's how you get your surveying mission. You can also put in some linear missions. So if you wanted to scan in a road or a river or whatever else, like power lines, gas pipelines, and so on. But the thing is, in our ground control software, you can also combine both of those. So you can do area survey and the linear survey all in one mission. So you don't have to do separate missions and plan separate missions. If those, yeah, both places are pretty close to each other, if you can fit the mission in under an hour, then you're good to go, and you can scan in the field of crops, and you can also scan in the road that is right beside it, all in one mission. So yeah, moving on to the new things that we have done. We've been here for quite a while, so there are still improvements we can do and we want to. So yeah, let's start with those. So first one of them would be the distance to reference point or mission resume point. What that means, we have this function where we can send a drone from anywhere in the mission to any other point on the map that is somehow close. So we actually use this function as one of kind of emergency scenarios. So if you need to pause your drone, you have this option to pause the drone and it will loiter around the point where it currently is at, but you can also send it to a different point and say, just go there and loiter around this point. And for this point, you can also change the altitude. So it can be anywhere from 50 meters above sea level up to 5,000 meters above sea level. So it's pretty interesting. Of course, you will never go from mission that you're doing at, for example, 100 meters to like 4 kilometers, but there's a possibility to do that. So yeah, you can also see here in the first picture that the drone is like doing the mission, and you can see there's a point 2A, which is created as a reference point. So you can see the drone is in 1,863 meters away from the loiter point where you want it to go, or it's already out of the mission for 377 meters. So that's an interesting thing that you might want to see during the mission. So the next one we have is actually a mission planning visualization. So beforehand, you can see we have two different ground control softwares. So in the previous one, which is the first picture under the newer one, you can see that if we create a polygon, then we only have the option to change the angle for the mission lines. But in the second picture, you can see that we also have a little yellow arrow right in the middle of our polygon. So actually beforehand, the lines for the polygon were created from south to north, but nowadays they're automatically created for the longest flight line. So if you had the rectangular net like this, but like this, then it would create the lines horizontally or even diagonally if you wanted. And you can actually change the angle by just dragging the arrow to any direction you want. Or if you still want to be sure that you have some set angle for the mission, then you can choose the angle manually. So yeah, we also have changed some battery monitoring things. Beforehand, we used the voltage as it is from the drone. So yeah, it was always like going home or ending the mission at set voltage. But nowadays, it is actually calculated for like the power usage, how many milliamp hours we have used. So you can also see that we have on the bottom right corner, there's battery used percentage and battery remaining percentage. So that's how we nowadays calculate it. So it's calculated for each and every one of your batteries, no matter how many times you have used this battery. So you will see the percentage right here. And yeah, it will also do all the emergency scenarios if needed. So if during the flight your battery gets low, the ground control software will tell you your battery is low, what do you want to do? So yeah, that's one of the safety features. So you don't have to sit there and watch like how many volts you have in the battery or what is the battery percentage, and remember some things like some numbers that you would need to know if this didn't happen automatically, but it all does, don't worry. So yeah, we have also made some improvements on offline maps. Actually, beforehand, we had quite a different name for this, which was Cache, but yeah, we actually changed it to offline maps, just so you're really sure that you have all of your map and the terrain downloaded to your computer and your ground control software, because the previous name used to mess with the heads of people. And how you do it, it's really simple. You go to this offline map settings, you just create a new region, give it a name. So for this one, I have just called it the test field, because this is where we actually do our test flights here in Latvia. And then you can see you can just download the map, and it's really simple. It will be forever downloaded on your computer. Of course, unless you delete your ground control software, then you will have to download it again. But yeah, why we use this function, actually, in Latvia, we're really spoiled because we have a really good internet connection mostly everywhere. And we have really cheap unlimited internet. So we don't worry too much about downloading the maps. But for example, we went to a test field in Germany where we did some flights and we had no internet connection there. So it was really important for us that we can save the cache and the terrain on the computer and don't have to worry about internet connection on the field. So yeah, the next thing we have updated is actually the pre-flight checklist. Beforehand, it was not here. You didn't like it didn't pop up during your pre-flight check that you need to make sure you have done all of the things that are necessary. You could have printed out a list for things you need to check, but nowadays it's all there. So of course you have to place the FIXAR on the ground or pad, attach the wings, and check the battery voltage and everything. So you can either click in each and every one of those check marks or just select all after you've read them and made sure that you have actually done all of those things. And also another thing we have done, we have added this parameters, autopilot parameters into the pre-flight checklist. So you can, for example, change the turning radius of the drone, or change what happens if you get a failsafe and lose the connection between your computer and your drone. So there can be different scenarios. You could, depending on the country's regulations where you are and where you have your drone, you could either send a drone to home and land. You can also send a drone to home and loiter, or you can also make sure that the drone keeps flying the mission this is what you should probably choose if you do your flights in the mountains. But yeah, that's completely another story. But yeah, you can see that there are quite, it's quite easy to actually change them, because beforehand you had to actually open the settings tab and find the right settings and everything. But now you can make sure that during each and every one of those missions, during the pre-flight check, you actually see what are the settings that are on your autopiloting system. And yeah, you can also change the altitude if the drone loses the telemetry connection. You can choose different altitudes where the drone would go if it did lose the telemetry. So we usually set it to 120 meters because that's the maximum allowed for us here in Latvia. But yeah, it can be different for your country. So yeah, we have another really good thing that I want to show you, which is our improved landing mode. So let's just watch the video. So yeah, as probably most of you already know, FIXAR 007 is a drone that can take off and land vertically. So this is how we actually improved our landing mode. It comes to the landing point, which you can set either to uh, land on the same position as it took off from, or you can manually set in a point on the map where you want for the drone to land. So for those who don't know already, you can choose a different landing point than the takeoff point for the FIXAR 007. So yeah, that sometimes it's necessary for you, sometimes it's not, but maybe you never know when you might need this function. But for most of the time, at least me myself, I usually choose the land on board function because it's easier for me that I don't have to like go, for example, 200 meters to my right or to my left to actually pick up the drone after it has landed and then just bring it back, because you know it's still a few kilograms of weight that you need to carry. So moving on, we have also yeah, as I mentioned before, we changed some settings in the settings tab. So here you can see on the left side that we had quite a few more options that you could change. So you could edit the project, catch the terrain, choose also the telemetry playback, the flight safety, the survey, system of measurement, and so on. But nowadays, from how many we had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from 9 options that you could have done during in the settings tab, you only now have 6 of them left. So it's easier for you to not go through the settings because all of these functions, they're not lost, they're just integrated into your pre-flight check or your project making and so on. So it's a lot easier for you as a client, as the user, to actually use those functions and understand more how they work. And yeah, so to move on to the new features we have done, those are really interesting for me. So yeah, one of the most used ones and most asked from the clients is the Geo Fences with the public zones integrated. So nowadays you can just go to this Geo Fences tab on your xGroundControl software. And if you choose the window of public zones and press show, then you can see all over the world where are some no-fly zones, restricted zones, warning zones. So depending on the color that you can see. So for example, here in the middle where Riga is, which is actually where our office is located, you can see there's a little red dot that shows that there's an airport and you're definitely not allowed to fly there. And you can also see different colors like pinkish, red, and blue, green, and so on, which means there are some restrictions in this area. And you can actually go to any place in the world. So for example, we wanted to go to Canada, we could just go to Canada on the map and press show warning zones, and it would show you the zones that are currently active at this moment in your country or wherever you want to check. So yeah, we also have some Geo Fences, which actually, if we go back, we can see here that there's on the top left corner a fence, which means that you can manually click in your manual no-fly zone, which wouldn't allow the drone to fly in this zone, to not actually fly in the zone, but to put some waypoints in this zone. So yeah, you can see that if I created this geo fence here, which is the little red dot, yeah, the polygon in the middle, and then I tried to create some waypoints over this, it would not allow me to do so. So yeah, that's like your manual control over things that you don't want to cross. So for example, there could be a house in the middle of this polygon, so we don't want to interfere with the neighbors, and we don't want them to yeah, not feel safe in an environment with the drones. So we would not be flying over them, or if there was some, for example, a statue that's really long, we don't want to fly over it or near it. So yeah, we would just make this fencing here, and the software would not allow us to fly there. We have actually also changed some comport settings. You had to do those manually beforehand in the previous ground control versions, but now you can see that there's a serial. So this is actually mostly for those who have more than one of FIXARs. So you could switch between your drones in just a few seconds. So you did your flight with one drone, and now you want to do a flight with your other FIXAR. Then you just come in this settings tab and yeah, choose the connection window, and from the serial you can choose whether close or open, and then it would add automatically the telemetry module that you're currently using, which is a lot simpler, and you can almost never mess up with this, and it will work 100%. And yeah, we can also nowadays change the mission entry point manually to the point that you really want for the mission to start from. So beforehand, we only had this option to toggle mission entry point and let the software decide where the entry point could be. But here you can see that if you right click on any of the points in the map, there's a little window that pops up that says set entry point. And if you click on that one, then you can manually choose this point that is now your current starting point. So yeah, this is where your drone will go into the mission when you actually go through the pre-flight check and start the mission. We have also added EXIF data format to your pictures. So for those who don't know, we can actually combine our pictures taken during the flight with the passports taken. What do the passports mean? They're the coordinates of where each and every one of the pictures from your for example, camera was taken. So you would have the angle of the picture and the picture itself. So during the pre-flight, oh, sorry, not the pre-flight check, but post-processing tab, you can process this and add those pictures together with the coordinates. And then after you've done that, you also get the option to add to EXIF. So how does that look? If you don't add the EXIFs on the right side of your screen now, you can see how it would look if there were no EXIF files for pictures, but on the left side, you can see that we have now the GPS coordinates as well, and we can also have shutter speed and everything inside of those, and also the flight altitude of this current point. So yeah, that's briefly about the new improvements and new things about our ground control software. But yeah, don't worry if you don't see something that you have asked us to improve or add. We're working on that, but yeah, our team is super busy like little bees. But yeah, why FIXAR 007? For me, definitely that it's easy to use. You can use it anywhere in the world, even in the mountains, geomagnetic anomalies and everything. We also do have a black box setup that we actually launched last year in the fall. So what does that mean for those who don't know? It means all your flight information is stored in an onboard black box. So all your pictures, coordinates, all of your flight data. So what was the weather, what was the altitude, what was the elevation, the wind speed, the ground speed, everything will be stored in your black box. So you never have to worry about losing some flight details. So for example, you were flying in the mountains and you lost your telemetry for a few seconds, but there were some pictures taken right in those seconds. You still have all of the passports in your black box, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, FIXAR is also fully autonomous. It costs yeah, it saves the costs of your mapping missions, your LiDAR missions, laser scanner missions, and everything. And the simplest thing, how to put it, that it's easy to use. You only need 2 minutes and 9 clicks to launch the first mission. So yeah, and you only need 2-day training, which we provide both on site and online. So don't worry if you're in a country that's not reachable, we can definitely do it online. Or if you live on a lonely island, we can still teach you how to use the FIXAR ground control software. So yeah, if you have any questions or you would like to see more about the ground control itself or connect to us, definitely feel free to send your questions or your invites to sales@fixar.pro. Also visit our website. You can follow our community on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And yeah, I think we can maybe have a look at the questions we have received during the webinar. Oh, yes. So I see that we have a question about the software. So yeah, the question is the software internet dependent? No, it is not. It is only dependent on the internet the first time you actually use it, because you need to download the maps. And then if you want to use that software offline, you can definitely just download it as an offline map and use it anywhere, anytime.
Let me jump in real quick. I would like to add that this webinar is going to be stored on our website. So in case you missed it, you will be able to watch it afterwards on our website. I would like to thank you all for visiting us this evening, and thank to my colleague Karina for such an in-depth explanation of the ground control software. And I hope to see you all soon in our following webinars. So thank you.